On the Sports Shorts Daily, Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Krysan here, presented by LaBear's Casino is Sports Shorts Daily. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. I'm coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios. Today on Sports Shorts, we're going to talk about Aaron Judge still looking for that home run number 61 in Major League Baseball. Got 8 games left with the Yankees. And I'll tell you what happened last night in the Yankees game that had Yankee fans pissed off, quite frankly, especially having to do with Aaron Judge's home run case. We'll tell you that story. Also, in the world, Major League Baseball, we have 7 playoff teams. The Yankees, Cleveland, and Houston. They're set in the East. In the AL. In the NL, the Braves, the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers are all in. Still have some more spots to go, of course. Big news out of London. Jameis Winston did not practice today, as we are doing this show in the morning. It's in the afternoon over there. He did not practice today. Here's more important: he wasn't at practice today. At least no one saw him on the pitch, as they call it over there. But Andy Dalton and of course the Red Rifle were both taking snaps at practice. There's video of that. Surprising that, and according to Dennis Allen, Jameis Winston was just resting. They held him out. They expect him back at practice tomorrow. They were just resting him. I mean, he couldn't be standing there with a clipboard. He couldn't be doing something. I mean, that's odd to me. And they didn't say he's sick, like he has the flu, which would make sense why he wouldn't be at practice. He said he's resting. That's bizarre. That doesn't sound good for him to play this week. I would think if you're not out there practicing during the middle of the week, are you really going to be playing? But anyway, that said, Saints a 2.5-point dog against the Vikings. No Jameis Winston today. I'm curious to see if the line changes any with the news of Jameis Winston not being at practice today. We'll talk some LSU football as well. The line just continues to go up, up, and up. The Tigers now a 9-point favorite over in Auburn. Tommy will tell us his thoughts on that, but the over-under hasn't moved at all. Also, prayers to everyone over in Florida. The hurricane is headed that way. We've all got friends and family and different people like that we know that live over there in Florida. It devastated Cuba. I actually have a buddy of mine who lives in Cuba. It went right over. He lost his roof of his house on the west side of Cuba. Just terrible, terrible deal. What's going on? Miami, by the way, lost power and electricity about an hour ago. So they're already feeling the effects, and they're not on the west side of Florida, which is going to get just absolutely devastated. They're on the east side. They've already lost power an hour ago. Did parts of Miami, maybe an hour and a half ago, parts of Miami. Let's bring in Tommy right now over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. TK, first off, let's go over to London, and I'll be there tomorrow. As soon as we're done with the show tomorrow, I'm headed to the airport to get over to London to go watch that game. But Tommy, your reaction when you found out that Jameis Winston not only didn't practice today, which, hey, that's not but he wasn't there.
Yeah, well, lots of things. As Steven said, it's Veterans Day off for the Saints players who are veterans to go somewhere. But Andy Dalton and Taysom Hill were there, and I think they're veterans. I don't know. A lot of things flying around. Here's the thing, Ronnie. It was reported that he had 4 fractures in his back. All right. Last week, the eyeball test, he looked uncomfortable. He didn't move as fluid as you might want him to. Ronnie, it'd be tough for me and you to do Sports Shorts daily with 4 fractures in our back, much less play an NFL game, okay? So I don't know. We're just going to have to let it play out, as you like to say. But Andy Dalton took most of the snaps at quarterback at practice today, which they're already done. They're ahead of us 6 hours on the clock. And Taysom Hill. There's also video on social media of Taysom Hill taking snaps and throwing passes. So obviously, if the Saints are doing that, they're preparing for the possibility of not having Jameis Winston.
Do you think that the line is going to move? I mean, obviously the Saints right now are a 2.5-point dog. I mean, with the news that Jameis Winston didn't even practice, wasn't even there at practice today, do you expect the line to move before game time?
Might move just a little bit. I mean, there are those that would say Andy Dalton, if he's healthy, he's better than an unhealthy Jameis Winston. We'll let the wise guys figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is some truth to that. It's not as if Jameis Winston's Drew Brees, and it's not as if he's been playing so well that all of a sudden if you miss him, it's going to affect the game. But I don't know, maybe a half a point, maybe at least from the bettors' perspective, who aren't so dialed in, they may think, well, without their starting quarterback, all of a sudden the number changes. But that's quite the development. And also, hey, Taysom Hill, don't count him out. I mean, we've already seen him take more snaps behind center through the first 3 games than I expected that he would. And who knows? We may see more of Taysom Hill. It's like a cockroach, Tommy. You try to get rid of him, but he's just not going to go anywhere. The good news about Taysom Hill, though, is that you're going to get your best effort. They're going to run the ball a lot with him in there. All right. So interesting. I'm actually, and I'm looking forward to talking about this. I'm planning on, when I go over to London for the Saints game on Saturday, Tommy, I'm actually going to go to a football match. Not soccer. It's going to be football. Going to a football match on Saturday, trying to figure out which ones to go to. There's a lot of different ones, but you know how this time of the year they play every Saturday, and was it Wednesday, Saturday, or Saturday, Tuesday? I think it's Saturday, Tuesday is kind of like when everybody plays. So you kind of have your choice of games to go to. There's about 4 games, all within about an hour and a half of where I'm at in London, and so as a group, we're going to decide which one we want to go to, look up some tickets on StubHub and go. I got to be honest, I'm probably more excited about going to a Premier League soccer game than I am the Saints, who are playing like crap right now, seeing them play the Minnesota Vikings without possibly their starting quarterback. Because, I'm never going to, who knows if I'll ever do that again. And it's a chance to see just a completely different culture and passion, the world game. So, I'll tell you all about it next week on Sports Shorts, but and which game I went to. But I think I'm more pumped about that, Tommy, than I am the football game.
Well, it's like a sports, it's like a bucket list thing. You'll be able to say you did that. For many years, I always wanted to go to an NHL game, not a minor league hockey game. It had a remote chance many years ago to go see one. Didn't work out with everybody, whatever. But I just wanted to do it so I could say I saw an NHL game. So, so that's cool that you're going to do that. Question will be, if you do it, would you want to do it again? We'll go through all of that next week.
I'm hoping that whatever game we pick, right, I want a lot of singing, I want chanting, I want taunting, I want, I want that whole experience, right?
Are you going to sing with them?
If I can understand what they're saying.
Well, no, because look, I was searching through the LA Sports Hall, the auction, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and there's a night with Rusty Yates and Ronnie Rance.
That's right.
I'm hoping Rusty sings a lot.
Yeah, well, no, definitely. I don't have 2 hours worth of songs, but no, that is true. On the Gridiron Kickoff auction that's currently right now on lasportshall.com. It's a week-long auction. It started on Monday evening. It will run through Sunday night. There's over 100 different auction items, a lot of sports memorabilia, a lot of great, 6-person wine pairing dinners and gift certificates and golf foursomes. CCL Country Club's got a golf foursome in there. We've got University Club. We've got the boat Bayou Oaks on the Bayou, whatever the city park course, Bayou Oaks down in New Orleans. We have a foursome. We've got foursomes at great courses all over the state. Carter Plantation, Greystone, you name it. But one of the items is a 2-hour concert with Rusty Yates and myself. Rusty plays keyboard. He's an unbelievable singer, soulful singer. He actually played John Brady's wedding party, John and Nikki's little wedding party that they had. He played it the other night. But Rusty and I have been friends for about 30 years. We've sung together many, many times. Rusty played my birthday party as well. And so we did this a couple years ago. We had this as an auction item, and we played a Friday night before the LSU Florida game, and it was well received. And usually we'll have Chad Bro join us on the drums if he's available. So we'll play your private party, play your bar mitzvah, play your wedding, whatever it is you need. It's a 2-hour gig. If you live anywhere in Louisiana, you got to give us at least a month notice to make sure Rusty's available and all. But that's one of the auction items. And so definitely
I saw that. And Rusty's a big fan of Sports Shorts Daily and my podcast and all the things that you do. So when I saw that one, I did chuckle a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I got to be honest, I didn't submit a bid, Ronnie.
Shocker. We're not taking, $50 for he and I to play for 2 hours in town near you. By the way, the 4 games in London, and I know this means absolutely nothing to you or I. Arsenal versus Tottenham. That's a 60,000 capacity stadium. That's where the Saints are playing, is in Tottenham. Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. They have 25,000 people at that stadium. Fulham, I guess, versus Newcastle. That's one of the other matches. And West Ham versus Wolverhampton, 60,000. I've never even heard. I don't know what that is. I'm sure somebody out there is a big Premier League fan. I don't even know if that's all Premier League, but that's 4 American soccer matches, American football soccer matches that I'm one of those 4 I'm going to be at on Saturday.
Ronnie, you need to grab somebody at the airport when you land and say, hey, if you could only go to one of those matches, which one would you go to? Get a local guy or girl
that's true.
Give you, hey, if you could only go to one, which one? And then what would be your second choice?
I'll also poll Gordy and Rush and Jacob Hester. They're big soccer fans. Probably two of the only soccer fans I know. So I'll ask them about it. I have the only signed Skip and TK signed baseball collection from the Hall. That's true. Craig Schilling. That's true. We had that ball auction last year, and we appreciate you, Craig, for supporting us. Go pick out a Jay Johnson mini helmet. We have that online too, I think, right now, Craig, if you want to help support the Hall of Fame again this year. Plus, we have signed Skip Bertman books. We actually have those. Those are, you don't even have to bid on them. They're just buy now prices. I got a bunch of books signed by Coach, and you can just buy as many as you want, and they're signed by him. All right. All right, we move on. By the way, Saints game. Speaking of the Saints game, I'm excited, although I don't like the helmets. It's going to be interesting to watch the Saints, Tommy, as they wear black helmets this year. I mean, this week for the one and only time.
Yeah, but it's got the thing over the top middle that's kind of blurry, distracting.
It's a bunch of little fleur-de-lis, but it looks good up close, but not from a distance.
Yeah, if they would have just went with what they have in gold and just put the black where the gold is. But I think it's going to be contemporary looking. But like you said, it's probably outstanding looking if it's sitting on your desk. But on TV, it remains to be seen how that'll look.
Yeah, I like the idea of letting teams change it up. Sometimes it's a swing and a miss, and that's okay. But I think I like the idea of, letting a team try some different uniforms and styles and all just for fun. Obviously, it sells merchandise. Obviously, the players like it. Most players are young guys, and young guys like to try a lot of different stuff. But this helmet, I feel like, is kind of like they could have done better. Let's just put it like that. But it's going to be very interesting to see that helmet, particularly, in London, and for a 9:30, right? I saw somewhere said 8:30.
It's 8:30 Louisiana time.
It is 8:30 Louisiana. That's right, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Louisiana time. Okay.
Yeah, we had a debate about that the other night, and we got it all correct. Some guys I was sitting with, and we'll kick off at 8:30 Sunday morning here in Louisiana time.
I just want to get a quick thought on this from you, Tommy. We didn't even talk about it on Monday, and I forgot afterwards. And you're the big resident golf expert on this show between the two of us, which is not saying a lot. But U.S. won the President's Cup. Just a quick overall takeaway from what you saw over the weekend. Is that
ninth time in a row they've won that? And, they had a big lead, and then the international team kind of shrunk the lead a little bit, and then they put it away on the final day. No surprise. It was one of them things on paper they should have won and won for the 9th straight time, and they went out and executed it and got it done. Still a lot of talk about the LIV Golf, and, there's still lots of things to be settled and determined in the world of pro golf.
I'll tell you this, the President's Cup is a little bit, whenever you have an event where one side wins 9 straight in a row, it takes a little bit of the luster away from it.
And here's why the President's Cup started, because you had the Ryder Cup forever, and that was Europe versus the USA. Well, when golfers from Australia and South Africa and Japan and all these other people started getting really good, they said, we got to have a competition to allow them to play. That's why it's the U.S. versus the international team as opposed to USA versus Europe in the Ryder Cup. So that's why it was born some 20, 30 years ago, mainly because of Greg Norman, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
Yeah,
he couldn't play in a Ryder Cup, but he wanted to be able to compete. And then, and then you had many other international golfers who became very prominent, and that's what led to the beginning of that.
There's just not the juice. It's not even close to the juice that there is for the Ryder Cup. Largely because there's just not a fan base, right? The President's Cup is so spread out among so many different countries and so far apart. There's just not that, there's just not that rah-rah, fierce rivalry that there is with the Ryder Cup.
Well, and the whole story now, every time they compete, will be, can the international team break the losing streak? And that's all it's going to be. That's the storyline going forward. And, unlike the Pro Bowl that got whacked, I think it'll be around for a while.
Speaking of the Pro Bowl, do you like the decision to not play the game?
We said, Trey Blossom and I said this 12 years ago on the radio, need to get rid of that game. The past Pro Bowl, the most recent one, had the lowest ratings in the history of the Pro Bowl. It turned into a farce. So, they made a great move with that. Now they're going to let Peyton Manning be in charge of this flag football game. Somebody could still get hurt. Remember that running back from Georgia, Edwards, got hurt in a skills competition many, many years ago, basically short-termed his career. So we'll see how it goes. But good thing to get rid of that game. It was a joke.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Craig. Good morning, Chance. Some comments here. Let's see. Chance saying maybe the Saints are a better European team. By the way, Saints 2-0 over in London, trying to make it 3-0 with this one. So they're on a win streak. Craig saying Braves are the big series against the Mets. One eye on the rain forecast. Yeah, both teams in the playoffs, but obviously the battle for the East and keeping an that hurricane that could affect that series.
You mentioned that storm, Ronnie. The Chiefs and the Buccaneers might play in the Superdome this Sunday.
Wow.
That's being discussed. I mean, it's not official, not done deal yet, but there's been some college games moved to Thursday, some moved to Sunday. So, if you got your favorite team, college or NFL, and I'm sure it's affecting the high school sports down there as well. Just check with the correct source to see if and when your favorite team's playing. But obviously, they're going to have to defer to the weather.
Yeah, obviously, last year Saints played Green Bay in Jacksonville thanks to Hurricane Ida week 1. So, you might see Tampa in the Dome a couple times, depending.
See another Tom Brady in the Dome.
Yeah. Let's see some other comments here. Chance asking, how long can DA, that's Dennis Allen, ride with Winston before his job is in jeopardy? I don't think DA's job's in jeopardy in year 1. The guy's been in the building a long time as a coach. The Saints are in a knee-jerk kind of reactionary franchise. You got your organizational head and Mickey Loomis have both been with the franchise for 20 years. And so nothing's going to happen to Dennis Allen this year, but no question it may be how long will it affect the Saints' chances of the playoffs? I mean, because this is a very good defensive team and you feel like you've got enough weapons on offense to where you should be able to win 10, 11 games or at least get close to that 10-win mark. And if you now start this thing 1-3, and then you start to see 1-3 and potentially come home against a 0-win Seattle team, your whole season is now literally on the line. Like change the course of how you coach and run the team. If you lose to Minnesota and then come home and lose to a potentially winless Seattle team, and then you're looking at 1-4 with nowhere to go. So
to answer Chance's question, I don't think his job's in jeopardy. I agree with you, Ronnie. Gail Benson's not going to run him off after a year. It's a loyalty type based organization. That's in part why Dennis Allen got the job. The loyalty to, like you said, he's been in the building. Everybody knows him. He knows everybody. So, I mean, unless they went 1-16 and there was some other factors, I mean, I can't see there being a change.
Right.
Everybody knows Winston's hurt, and that's who was pegged as the starter. There's other injuries, other guys that have missed stuff. So, no, I'm going to directly say, in answer to Chance's comment, I don't think his job is in jeopardy at this point.
All right, let's talk Aaron Judge. The chase is on. He still hasn't hit 61. He has 8 games left. No panic. They play Toronto tonight at 6 o'clock. But last night, I mean, do you think they did it on purpose, Tommy? He walked 4 times against the Blue Jays. They weren't intentional walks, but he walked 4 times, and the fans in Toronto were booing like crazy.
That's one of them things, it's just like throwing at a guy. Sometimes it's very hard to determine whether it was intentional or not. Sometimes it's obvious, and I didn't see the 4 at-bats and the 4 walks. I was busy with hold the rope and then some other stuff, but that's an age-old story. It goes back to Pete Rose when Gene Garber stopped his hitting streak at 44. All the other guys with the home run chase with McGuire, Sosa, and on and on and on. And then now, do you want to beat a guy that gives up the home run, or are you trying to? Toronto's trying to get to the playoffs. Here's what should be said: they're potentially a playoff wild card team. They're battling right now with a little over a week to go. So I can't question a pitcher for maybe pitching around him because they're trying to win a game. I mean, the goal is to win the game, get the batter out, win the game. So, if they play Texas and Baltimore next 2 series to wrap up the season. Neither of them teams will have a shot at the postseason, although the Orioles are getting better. Now, those guys start pitching around, and then the conversation becomes a little more heated. But I'm not going to fault Toronto, who's trying to make the postseason.
Again, as long as it's a close game and it's within the scope of the game, and it's not just out of pettiness that, I don't want to be the pitcher to give up the homer. If it's that one of those kind of deals, then I have a problem with it. If it's, hey, it's a 1-run game, 2-run game, this guy, we're behind, we're up, it's close, it makes a difference. Sure, you always walk or pitch around the best hitter and not let him beat you.
Well, yeah, it's got to be a game situation. If the game dictates you pitch around the guy, or if the game dictates you intentionally walk him, then you got to do it. If you're Toronto, you're trying to make the postseason. So I'm not faulting Toronto, and we'll see how this thing continues to unfold. 6 o'clock tonight, they play again in Toronto, and then they wrap it up with Baltimore and Texas. And I don't know if it's Baltimore, Texas, then Texas, Baltimore.
Which ball would you rather have? Would you rather have the home run number 62 from Judge, or would you rather have home run ball number 700 from Pujols if you were a fan and could catch it?
700 from Pujols, because there's a better chance somebody else hits 62 one day, but there's in my opinion, no chance someone hits 700 again.
By the way, have you seen the documentary Facing Nolan on Netflix?
I have not.
Okay, I urge you to do so. I watched it last night. It is unbelievable. It is a documentary on Netflix called Facing Nolan. Let's see. And I thought I knew everything about Nolan Ryan, and I learned a lot of things, right? I mean, I think, and I don't know the background of the documentary. I need to look into it. I think the documentary was kind of created by his family. But it takes you through everything. It takes you through everything in his life from childhood up until today. And, being born in 1947 in Texas all the way up to today. And I'm telling you, if you think you liked Nolan Ryan before, you're going to freaking love Nolan Ryan now. And if you just happen to not be enough of an historian of Nolan Ryan, or you can't appreciate him as much, watch this documentary. It is incredible. He is freaking John Wayne and cleats. And I bring him up because you mentioned the 700 homer thing. The record, Nolan Ryan has 51 records in the major leagues that are still standing. And I think he's got the records he has for strikeouts, and the record he has, will never, like 700 is more possible than the records that Nolan Ryan has set in his 27 years in the pitching in the major leagues. It's an absolutely unbelievable documentary. But for me personally, I agree with you, Tommy. Give me Albert Pujols' 700 ball. But I just can't say that ever going to not hit those, because I think there's a catch-22 with the money and the contracts being so big. One, it can make you complacent, and it can make you like, I don't really need to do this. I've got hundreds of millions of dollars. I can go do something else. The other is, I've got hundreds of millions of dollars. What else am I going to do? I don't need for anything else. I've got the best trainers. I've got the best, nutritionists. I've got the best, masseuses every day, and everything else, like traveling chefs and all that kind of stuff. So you can stay younger physically, a la Tom Brady, right? If you're that laser focused guy, you can stay healthy, play longer. They'll give you a day off when you want, all that kind of stuff. So I think there is a chance that you may see, and the DH is in both leagues, so you can always just go to that position if you want. I think there is a chance that we'll have, and the game is more strikeout or homer than ever before. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that 700 gets done again. But I definitely think the Nolan Ryan records are never going to happen.
Well, I'm gonna have to watch that, because I've always been a huge Nolan Ryan fan. And many years ago, I spent a day with Willie Stargell, and I asked him, I said, who was the toughest fastball? He said, Nolan Ryan. I said, who had the best curveball? He said, Nolan Ryan. He said, one good thing about when you win against Nolan Ryan, he said, the game was at 7 o'clock, and about 10 minutes after 8, you were in the 7th inning, and you were getting ready to go to dinner. But just a few tips from Pops, Willie Stargell. I had a fun day with him many years ago. He spoke at Southeastern, and I picked him up in New Orleans, drove him to Hammond, hung out with him. He spoke, and I drove him back to New Orleans. We actually went to Pat O'Brien, so that was good.
That is a great story. I loved the We Are Family team in '79 and all that, but for the Pirates. But Nolan Ryan, we say 7 no-hitters and it just kind of rolls off your tongue,
Yeah.
But like,
well, Ronnie, there's like 18 one-hitters.
Yeah, he's got the most. He holds the record for the most no-hitters, one-hitters, two-hitters, and three-hitters in the history of Major League Baseball. And they're way out there. Matter of fact, how about this? He's got over 5,700 strikeouts. Randy Johnson is second on the list, and he's got over 1,000 less strikeouts,
which is 5 seasons now. Look at chances.
One of Nolan Ryan's records, most punches landed. He talks about that. The Robin Ventura charged the mound in the documentary, and he said where that stems from was Dave Winfield in 1980 was playing with the San Diego Padres before he got traded to the Yankees or signed free agent with the Yankees. And Dave Winfield knew this is not going to be my contract year. So he's playing hard, but he was protecting himself. And they were playing in the Astrodome, and Nolan went up and in a couple times and, dusted him off, and he had to get out of the way of the ball and all that stuff. And Dave Winfield charged the mound and came at him and threw some haymakers. And then, of course, Nolan tied him up and everybody, did their thing. But Nolan's learned a lesson. He said, if somebody comes at the mound, they're coming to hurt me. They're coming at me. Like, I'm not going to just wait next time. Next time somebody charges the mound, I'm going to go get them first. And it took 13 years. But it was 13 years to the day from Dave Winfield charging the mound in 80 to 1993 when Robin Ventura did it in August of 90. I think it was August 4th, 1993. And Robin Ventura went to the mound, and so he remembered. But the deal with Robin Ventura, if anybody that knows him, he's a super nice guy. It's like Warren Morris, charging the mound. It's not going to go well for Robin. But what and he was, still somewhat new in his career, young in his career. Remember, he was a great hitter at Oklahoma State and set all kind of records. But what happened is that Nolan Ryan, who was known to hit people and all that kind of stuff, internally there was the White Sox back then, which I think Bo Jackson was a part of. The White Sox back then, and had Big Thomas and Frank Thomas. They had set a bounty internally and said the first person who gets hit tonight better charge the mound, or you're going to get fined, $500 or $1,000, a kangaroo court kind of deal internally, right? So Robin Ventura happened to be the first guy to get hit. And so he gets hit and he starts to walk up the first baseline, and then probably either he remembered, oh shit, I'm supposed to charge the mound, or my teammates are going to get mad, I'm going to get fined, or they could have been yelling from the dugout, you better go. And then so it was like he he got hit. He took a couple steps and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to go. And he took his helmet off and he kind of just tippy-toed out there, thinking probably that, Pudge or somebody or whoever was catching was going to, Pudge was catching that game that day, that Pudge was going to like hold him or something, and he didn't. And then Nolan just got on him, put him around the neck. And that's such a famous, iconic photo of him punching him in the face.
And him with the blood after that or whatever. I remember Will Clark told a story on Sports Down the Middle. Will Clark's first Major League at-bat was a home run in the old Astrodome out of dead center off of Nolan Ryan. First Major League at-bat. Boom. He told a story how he got in the dugout after that home run. And one of his Giants teammates told him, said, next time you bat against Nolan Ryan, don't dig in. And he goes, what? He goes, don't dig in. Sure enough, next time he came up, zoom, close shave. It was what Mr. Ryan sent him after he hit that home run.
I mean, just the man's man. I'm telling you, man, facing Nolan, you need to check that documentary out. It is well worth the time. It's just never going to be anyone like him. He was my favorite growing up. Unfortunately, he grew up in an era, just before every game was on TV. I mean, imagine now if you had a Nolan Ryan, everybody would be watching every single game. You'd be getting the MLB package. But like literally, when he threw his 7th no-hitter against the Blue Jays in Arlington in 1993, I believe, the game wasn't even televised locally. Like it was televised back to Toronto, and it was a sold-out ballpark in Arlington. But it wasn't even on TV, locally. I mean, we can't even imagine that nowadays, right?
Well,
and then when he was with the Angels in 73, 74, 75, those were like the 3 greatest years any pitcher's ever had. And like a lot of those games most of those games weren't on TV.
Ronnie, it goes back to the 70s when I'm like in high school. The NBA finals were on tape delay. Okay, because of MASH. Remember the TV show MASH, which was like the #1 show for however many years? Well, they would play the 10 o'clock news in New Orleans. Then at 10:30, MASH would come on. And then at 11 o'clock, you get the NBA game that had been played a couple hours before that. Let that sink in.
And I mean, the 1980 Olympics, the famous gold medal win over Russia was a tape delay broadcast. So it's one of the greatest sports moments ever. Only the people that were there in that rink in an upper state New York got to see it. Everybody else had heard about it and had to wait till the nighttime to watch it.
Ron, I got to ask you this: where were you when the USA beat Russia for the goal? It was a semifinal game.
I mean, at that time I was 8 years old, 7, 8 years old. So I was probably, in my, in the apartment in New Orleans where I grew up at the time with my mom and dad and my little baby brother. My sister wasn't even born then, but so we would have watched it in New Orleans at home.
I don't know if I need to tell you where I was at. I was in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center.
Really?
At a John Denver concert. I got talked into going, sometimes you
love me some John Denver, by the way.
Sometimes you go when somebody wants you to go. I was at the John Denver concert at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, and they like John Denver stopped. Like when he got done with a song, they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have an announcement, which was like unprecedented back then.
Right.
They said the United States has just beaten Russia in hockey. And of course, everybody in the PMAC was all
USA, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
No, John Denver, man.
You like some John Denver.
I love me some John. Wasn't he in the movies Oh God with him and Burns? John Denver. I thought he was in that.
There you go. Now you got your answer, Ronnie.
Okay, then my mom let me know where we were. We were watching at Aunt Connie and Uncle Kenny's house. Okay, that was in Braithwaite.
Braithwaite.
Or Chalmette. I'm assuming it was the Braithwaite
house. Lower St. Bernard Parish.
That's
I mean,
right.
That's you could have went crabbing and shrimping after that.
I know, but that's wild. See, Mom and them were older. They remember where they were when such an historic thing happens. I was probably trying to see what I could eat. Did they have ice cream in the freezer or something like that over in Chalmette? Okay, I think they moved.
My hometown.
Yeah.
My hometown.
There you go. See, we were in God's country watching the.
You were down there. You could have came and saw me.
No, but you were at John Denver, which is a great call.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom. So you got to answer. What was the movie? Was it Oh God? John Denver. John Denver was in those great movies. Oh God, You Devil, or something like that.
I'm not sure. As you know, I'm not a movie guy.
Oh God.
Let's see. Yes.
John Denver, George Burns and John Denver. Right. Yeah, I remember that. He was great in those movies. All right, TK, before we get out of here, I do want to tell folks about the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Celebrity Golf Tournament. It is going to be October 30th and 31st at the University Club Golf Course. The party the night before will be on the rooftop at LeBears on October the 30th. Food and drink everywhere, some great prizes. So make sure you go check out lasportshall.com to get more info on the Ghouls and Golf tournament. lasportshall.com. Going to be a fantastic event.
Also, you got the big auction going on.
Yeah, that's going on right now. So you go to that website, you can knock out both. Some really, really cool stuff, including how about a replica Drew? Hang on.
Oh, here we go. We're going to have show and tell.
How many people have this, Coach?
Oh,
the Lombardi Trophy. It's a replica Lombardi Trophy. I'm talking about it's heavy. It's exactly like it. Look in there. You can see it's got the same Super Bowl info, and it's signed by Drew Brees. You see that right there? Drew Brees signed it. Yeah, I mean, this is really, really cool. That's one of the auction items that we have up there. I mean, like that's a talking point. You have that in your office. You have that in your home. It's pretty, really, really cool. And, of course, it supports a great cause, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. All right, TK, tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here.
Lunch specials lasagna today. We'll be back here tomorrow. Sports Shorts Daily due to Ronnie's travel plans tomorrow morning again at 9:30. We'll have several things to talk about. Does Judge hit a home run? Do the point spreads move on the Saints, LSU, the whole bit? We'll do all of that tomorrow. But lasagna is the lunch special today, and all the catering, tailgating for high school games. Got people coming to the house to watch the Saints, or coming Sunday morning to watch the Saints or to watch LSU. Get all your tailgating and home gating needs here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. They're always putting stuff out. It's a great way to keep up.
All right, prayers to everybody over in Florida, Cuba, all those places that have been devastated, and we hope that somehow it just skirts by and does minimal damage as much as it can over in Florida. We'll be back tomorrow for more Sports Shorts Daily. Until then, have a good one, everybody.